everybody, and welcome back to another show of the cool down. And today, I've got the three legends here, the most loyal of fans. We've got Nick Stothard, the Toon, the King of the North, the man who's very happy because a great result on the weekend for him. We've got Selo, Kale, Lolo. I don't know, Lolo, Selo. I'm not too sure. He can school us in terms of what he prefers. But Man United dropped some points. Then we've got Wonga Denga, the Denganator, Dengasaurus. You know how it is. Welcome back, Wonga. Your team also dropped some points along with my team. So actually, the only real winner here on the weekend was Nick. Hey, Nick.
Yeah. And that's a surprise. That's a surprise. You know what I mean? It's one of those where normally it's the other way around, but it's all good. At least someone has won. You know, I think it helps. It helps for the morale of the squad that we've got a win on the show.
With 9 men, eh? With 9 men.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 9 men. Yes, that's perfect.
You have to keep retweeting that, eh? That's the only thing Nick has been saying in the group. With 9 men, with 9 men, with 9 men. It's like
shame, man. And they caught Southampton at the right time, I think. It was like they're playing the blind school. They really just didn't weather the storm on and off the pitch. Nick is gone now. He just got too excited. I think he's still busy celebrating. That's what's going on there.
Yeah, he's a bit frozen. He's a bit frozen there. He was like, and then got cut.
Yeah, I got cut there. But Wonga, Aston Villa, Arsenal. It wasn't a good one for you guys.
No, it wasn't. I mean, you heard me last week saying we're going to win the game. It was belief, and also I just felt the way we were playing. I just thought, I really thought that we would pounce on that. But I mean, I think us conceding early didn't help. It was an unfortunate deflection. I mean, Matt Ryan was good in goals. I could have been 3-4-0. If he didn't save those balls. Some of the saves he did were really, really good. Yeah, congratulations to him because he had a good game. But look, I mean, listening to Mikel Arteta, he was saying, I mean, he said that, and it seems like everyone asked now. I mean, look, I've checked their website, I've looked at, and I looked at the press conference afterwards, and he says that they played. He feels that they played well. Not well. Let me see his words. Where they dominated many parts of the game. Possession wise, yeah, I think we had 60 something. Aston Villa 30 something. Yeah. So, but I just don't see how we dominate. Well, I watched the game. I couldn't see how we dominated the game. I don't think I saw anything clear. With Arsenal, I mean, look, the game before. The game before, I think there were more clear opportunities. I think we dominated there. Didn't get the result, but this one I didn't see us dominate. I think Aston Villa were well-deserved winners, despite getting that. It was a fortunate goal, but I mean they could have scored on many other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean you say it was a fortunate goal, Wonga, but like, I'm looking at it and I've got some instances there. There were at least 2 highlights of that game where the actual goal in the first place, it comes from a position where there's absolutely zero danger. The ball gets played forward. Morelos should be dealing with it. He plays the ball to Cedric. Cedric plays the ball out wide for some reason. Doesn't play directly to him. Maybe because what's his name was behind him, Watkins. So he doesn't play the ball directly to him. Traore gets onto the end of it, and by doing that, he pulls him out wide, and then he isolates Holding there one-on-one, literally one-on-one. But for me, the most concerning thing was the reaction of all the players. It was just so slow and lethargic that, they allowed that to happen. Then he gets beaten on the outside, and then again, he gets that shot, and yeah, sure, it's a deflection. But the amount of time and space he gets in the 6-yard box, for me, it was absolutely criminal. And that wasn't the only instance that happened. There was another chance which Traore gets that he does the same sort of thing. They're ball watching, and Shaka, again, criminal. It's Shaka, it's your whole back four, all this ball watching, and he manages to slip through. All it is, one touch through your 2 centre-halves, and then he decides to go for a dink. And then, unfortunately, Traore makes the wrong decision there. But those sort of scenarios, when you're looking at it and you're going, for a coach, he sets himself up very precise and very structured. There seems to, I don't know if it's because he's changing the back four, I'm not sure what it is, but there seems to be a lack of communication, especially when you've got 2 holding midfielders that are meant to be covering. They're not doing it.
Yeah, you see, look, and I agree with you on that. The first goal, yeah, if you look at it from that point of view, yeah, they were very they weren't, disciplined at all at the back, and it led to that. When I say the deflection itself was fortunate, but let's say, if you do think about it, we actually caused ourselves that issue. We shouldn't have actually gotten to that point. But and again, when you the holding, what's his name? Our holding midfielders, what's his name? Shaka. Again, defensive wise, he's got a good left foot. Can't deny it. He's got a good shot. Good on set pieces. He can help us there. But now set pieces and stuff are only going to happen. Only maybe let's say 1-2 minutes in a game. The rest of the time, the 8 minutes. What's the value does Shaka add there? That's my question. And it's very, very, very slow reactions. Not just him in the game, but there were many people. But what's surprising for me is that what I say is Arteta. I'm just trying to figure out what is he saying when he says that we were dominating. I checked the stats and they've got more shots on target than us. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. They had more shots on target. I think they had more. I think we had more goal attempts, but only like two or one more. So it was pretty even out. But watching the game, Aston Villa were a better team. Watkins, hey, big ups to that guy. Was he's on form. Apparently he's an Arsenal supporter, busy flipping killing us when we play him.
He's an Arsenal supporter. He's sending you guys a message there, boy. Come fetch him. Come on.
Yeah. But I like the guy. Wouldn't mind him in our team, but yeah, I don't think that would be the right move for him, especially if you look at the log. It wouldn't make any sense for him.
When an Arsenal fan says, "Please, you're going to ruin your career if you come join us now."
The interesting thing is, so I saw someone posting a log table. Arsenal on top of the bottom half.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a positive, yeah. That's a positive.
The number one at the bottom half, man.
Yeah, bro. And so the worst thing is, yes, I was going to say. So the worst thing is that I look at the log and like the log. I think it was before we played. I think we were 10, and I'm like, okay, if we win, we can go up a few places. But then look at the other teams ahead of us. We are playing. There's no game in hands we have. Everton had a game in hand. Leeds have a game in hand. Everyone else has a game in hand.
Aston Villa has game in hand. Everton has game in hand.
Bro, Man United has game in hand. We do not have game in hand.
No. Now we're on the same as you now.
Sorry, Man City. Man City,
Man City, yeah.
No game in hand.
Nothing.
So I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say it now. When I look at Arsenal now, I think just to be so that I'm saying, this year. Definitely, I think the best thing for us is that we don't make Europe. I think Arteta says, in terms of Europe, it's a big blow. I honestly think I don't know. Obviously, now the players he has will want to make Europe, but I think it will be probably a blessing in disguise if we miss Europe for a year and try and pull this team. Honestly, I think so, because we just up and down.
But then, question to you though, Wonga. Question to you though. I see Saliba's just been named Player of the Month for Nice.
Yes.
He's recently come out saying Arteta didn't give him a chance. I think he said he looked at him with 2 games and he said he was very frustrated being a big money signing, coming into the club with all the hype of the fans and the expectation and not being given a chance. So in terms of moving forward in the summer, and we know it's going to be a rebuilding sort of process, but what happens with a player like him now who's actively speaking out technically towards the coach, also the hierarchy of the club, and we know what happened with Ozil. So technically, you've spent £30 million, and I just don't see this as a positive move for the player or the clubs. I don't know what your thoughts are regarding that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I tried to look on this the Saliba issue, I didn't hear much. I didn't hear that he said that, but I remember Arteta before him giving reason as to why Saliba was playing and it wasn't playing, and he said his reason was not that he didn't like the player, but he felt that he wasn't ready, and he said that it was something that was agreed between. It wasn't just his view; it was something that was agreed upon between him and obviously his agents and everyone involved in this Saliba transfer. So but basically every stakeholder involved was informed that look, and was also understanding to that look, this guy needs more game time as a player. I think Saliba even himself. But I mean, now obviously that's what he says, and now Saliba's coming out to say this.
The shocking part, man, is Arsenal had already qualified for the knockout phase in Europa League. Going into that last game, play the guy, play the kid. You act like and they act like. What do you mean he's not ready? You know what I mean? This kid was playing for Saint Etienne, and obviously was a regular starter for Saint Etienne. You know, he was obviously competing with Fofana, who's now at Leicester. You know what I mean? I think he probably got you know, the most amount of appearances more than Fofana. You know, and it's crazy. Hey, I see someone's mentioning the Saliba video. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, don't go look at it. Yeah, man, it's a video of when he was younger. I think playing probably like for France under 21s or France under 20s or something. And yeah, man, I think it's yeah. Let me just leave it.
So, but I mean, just to answer Claudia's question, it'll be to be honest with Claudia, I really don't know how they'll respond. I think the kind of person that Tete is, I think he's someone that will put it behind him. But given that whole Mesut Ozil situation and the way Mesut also handled it from the onset, from when they took him, from when they stopped playing him, then they left him out the team. We were losing, bottom of the log, still didn't play him. He left, still said thank you to Arsenal. Said even till this day now, I mean, everyone's seen that. Look, he says he's an Arsenal man, and I think in the end he played his cards right in terms of doing that. But I mean, even him, I feel that probably there's a reason why he's done that all the way to the end. And said, look, this and played it out that way. In terms of Saliba, if that's what I don't think it's too bad in terms of what he said. I mean, especially if he's speaking facts. If he says the guy didn't want to play him,
but remember, he's a young player, so I don't know who his agent is. But you got to nip that shit in the bud. You don't want the guy going rogue and possibly ruining this. Look, the agent's getting paid regardless.
Yes.
But you know, there's just certain things that players need to be coached on, and I think him doing that's probably not advised. He's speaking from the heart, and that stuff needs to be somewhat nipped in the bud. But Wonga, before we move on to the next game, Odegaard has a chance towards the end. I think maybe that's what Arteta's referring to when he's like, "Oh, we were better and we had a chance." That chance wasn't really as good as half chance, right? So
look,
just making it was nothing.
Look, it was a good chance. I don't deny it was a very good chance. Give that to Mo Salah. Give that to Sadio Mane. And I think a couple of more people probably would have put that in the back of the net. Genuine, that was a very, very good chance for us to actually equalize. But again, I don't think you can base the whole performance on that one chance. I think Aston Villa were the better team that game. To be honest with you, they deserved the win. They fought for it. But also, I don't understand. I'm just trying to look at what we know. We've always complained about it every week, and we'll move on. But there was an incident in the box with Lacazette. I don't know if you guys saw. Martinez grabbed him on the shirt from the other side even, and pulled Lacazette down with him during I think it was a corner. Pulls him onto the floor. Like it was a clear foul in the box. That's definitely whether it's a red card. Whether it's a red card, a yellow card, I don't care. But that was a penalty. It's a penalty in the box. That's
I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Conspiracy. Why is that not shown in the highlights? Like if you go see the highlights, that's not something they showed. So you talking about it, but then it showed that.
Exactly my point. That's exactly my point. So you see, what's VAR there for? It's only so like you remember when we played against Man United. I think you remember Celo, Bruno Fernandes grades Xhaka on the ankles, graded him, right? Surely, guys, if that was a red card incident for me, let's say it was a yellow card at least, but for me that's a red card. Xhaka doesn't do anything, doesn't go down, doesn't roll on the floor, but they look at the situation again and they can see it's dirty. Now people ask, okay, what if the roles are reversed? What if Xhaka does that to Bruno Fernandes? Fernandes goes down. Bruno Fernandes goes down, rolls on the floor, and he's probably making it look like he's in the worst agony. The ref says, what's going on here? Let's go check VAR. Now he says, let's go check VAR. Then gets a red card off the field, because that's what probably would have happened if they look at the incident again. Who was it this weekend? Also, they checked the VAR situation.
It's
Chelsea.
hypothetical. It's hypothetical.
Yeah, that's hypothetical. I get it. No, I get it. That's hypothetical. It is hypothetical. You're right. But that's what I'm saying. Then Chelsea as well. Chelsea now, they those one-on-one. Werner goes around the keeper, pass the ball around. Ref goes to VAR, checks it, and then they only because now they obviously, because now the ball is in that situation, they go and check VAR. Everyone's seen it. But my question is now, why don't they do that all the time? Why isn't there someone checking what's happening?
No, but we can't check every incident. We can't check.
But what's the point of VAR?
No, it's supposed to check. It's supposed to check any obvious mistakes. So obviously, a penalty is something that's going to change the complexion of the game. So you can't be checking something outside the box that's going to be a yellow card. You can only check something that's going to be a red card. No, I didn't watch the game, so I wouldn't know what you're talking about. But
so it's very clear. If you go watch it, see, it's very clear.
I'm talking about a red card offense or a penalty. Those are two things that change the game. So obviously the other team will be down to 10 men, or the team that obviously maybe got tackled in the box will get a penalty. You know what I mean? So those are the two decisions that we do call, a big. Obviously, an offside is also big. But then now for someone to challenge Granit Xhaka is a strong man. He didn't feel anything. He didn't go down. Game must continue.
No.
Now you want him to fall because he doesn't fall.
Wait,
but certain players don't want to fall, and it's okay, and we respect them for not falling. And certain players fall quicker than others. You know what I mean? We know that
Xhaka did fall when they created it. Xhaka did fall.
Will fall.
Xhaka did fall when they created it.
But the problem here, Wonga, is that the world just doesn't respect Xhaka. You don't respect Xhaka. Now you want us to give him something. That's just how it is, unfortunately. Like you said, these players have perceptions and things. That's what it is, unfortunately.
Guys,
Nick is joining twice.
This is the same thing. This is the same thing that I'm saying happens. Is that no one even cares? But VAR is very inconsistent. I can't even lie to you, especially those incidents.
Whoa, Nick! Hold on.
Nick,
jeepers, dude! Nick's just coming here. The man is throwing. He's like, we've spoken about Arsenal for far too long. It's time to talk about the team that only won with 9 men, and that's what's going on here. It's like time to change the subject. Am I right, Nick?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, guys.
That was hectic.
Yeah. So, Nick, now that you've made the few people that are watching our show deaf and you've confused us, let's talk about your game, because Wonga's actually upset he didn't get to finish his point. Yeah, you're entering now. 3-2 Southampton. Like I said, the weather, it was a perfect sort of Premier League game in a way, end to end. Nice. The ball was wet. The field is wet. There were tackles coming in. There were passes being made.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm having huge technical issues tonight.
It's all good. It's all good.
I think from my perspective, I'm not happy still. The man is still not happy.
Wow, you guys win. Because you wanted the team to lose.
Listen, okay, we're 15 points from safety, so I'm happy about that. But if I'm going to be very honest with you, we played against and when I say a poor Southampton team, they are honestly, I haven't seen a team play like that against not even 11 players, let alone 9, like this season, if I'm very honest with you. We were very average in the second half specifically. And yes, we played a lot better than they did. I mean, we were much better than them. 3 goals up at halftime. Yes, they did score. Minamino scored due to probably our mistake. But I mean, just some of the changes, just typical Steve Bruce. You've got Callum Wilson, our top goal scorer, going off, and then you bring on Jolinton when you've got Gale on the bench and you've got Andy Carroll on the bench. It just typifies the sort of man that this guy is and the coach that he is. And why I'm so upset about this is because we suffered for a good, call it 36, 37 minutes, 10 men first, and then following that, obviously the 9 men at 17 or 18 minutes to go. Listen, it's great to get a good result. I think if it was a better team, if they moved the ball a little bit quicker, the conditions were horrendous. they would have put us to the sword. But we literally had 2 banks of 4. We had a back 4 and a midfield 4, and we just shuffled for 17, 18 minutes. What that says about the actual players, are they fighting for Steve Bruce? Maybe they are. But I personally think they might also just be fighting for whoever else comes in once he maybe gets the sack. But it is a good sort of, if you want to look at it as, it is good character from the players, sort of showing that they can stick it out and they are capable. Unfortunately, we lost another centre half. I think we're down to 1. I think we've got 1 healthy centre half in who is it? Kieran Clark, who's back because his wife. He was not playing the last game. His wife was having a baby. So I don't know if you guys saw Fabian Schär done his. I think it's his ACL or his MCL.
Yeah,
so
got stretch it off.
Yeah, he might be, and I blame him as well. Actually, if you saw how it happened, he took a free kick, like a stupid free kick. They should have had a red card. Bednarek should have been sent off. But anyway,
I'm not sure about that.
Really,
I saw that. I don't think that...
Would Almiron not have gone? Who's quicker than Almiron on that pitch in that position? I don't know.
There was still a lot to do, and I think there was another man coming. He wasn't. He was last man, but I don't think it was a red card offense, man. Like if you gave a red card for that, I think that was it would have been harsh. It would have been similar to
that's more of a red card. That's more of a red card than what he got the week before. To be fair, but obviously up for discussion. But anyway, he takes that free kick and then he absolutely duffs it, and then he goes into a challenge and then
half-ass. But did you see that challenge though? Half-ass challenge. That's how he got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's obviously disappointing from that end. But probably the positives is we don't need to really rely on Wilson as much as we did, because we've got St. Maximin back, who is terrorizing defenders. Almiron has come into form where he looks very, very dangerous. And then you've got a Joe Willock who comes in and he looks very lively. He wants to get
as Richard says, it's a step up from Arsenal.
Step up from Arsenal. Arsenal can't score on the weekend, and he goes straight into a Newcastle side and he scores. I love that.
And he bangs it in.
You know what's interesting, Wonga, and what I liked about him, and I was just trying to think of how he would set up in a Arteta type style. But he looks like a player that does want to press, and he will work for the manager. So it is a little bit, I'm a little bit surprised, because especially at his age, and he is willing to get into the box to sort of try and get himself about and potentially get a goal. And that proved it. Maybe they were playing against a weakened Southampton, but the goal was actually so textbook training style. Getting down the line, pulling your fullback out of place and whipping it back 45 degrees, and there's your centre midfielder coming in with a late run and scoring. So I'm sort of chuffed from that sense. I am a bit concerned if Wilson's out. We needed to win that. We've got Chelsea next. We've got Man United next. More than likely 0 points. So we need to start gathering them. We probably 5 wins away from safety, with probably 15 games. So we got to win a third of our games to try and survive. I haven't changed how I feel about Steve Bruce. He's an absolute donkey. He doesn't know.
But you're right though, Nick. But you're right though. Firstly, I think you're right about the Willock sort of thing, because even after his post-match interview, you could see that the guy was buzzing. He was excited to be there. He was excited to be getting game time for a club like Newcastle. I mean, you keep talking, to start. And so that's, he's ready. He's going to take it, and he's going to take the opportunity like he did on the weekend, I think. So that's a huge positive. I think, like you said, St. Maximin coming in was great for you guys. Very direct play. And again, when you're playing against a side whose confidence is a shot to Southampton, perfect sort of player. And Hendrick's ball, by the way, was delicious. It was a fantastic ball. I think it was Almiron's second. I mean, Almiron's goal was a bit of a fortunate sort of ricochet. He hits it, but you got to hit it. The pitch is where he takes his chance. But going back to Steve Bruce being the donkey, I think you guys get away with the result in the end just because he takes 15 or so minutes to change after you've gone down to 9 men. He keeps the squad as is, playing 4 men in the back, playing 3 guys in the midfield and 2 up front, And I just kept thinking to myself, I was like, shit, all Southampton have to do is get the ball wide because they're not packing enough players in the midfield. And they did. They didn't take their chances.
No,
and then
so
afterwards...
and what he initially did, which I was like, for me, I thought was mind-boggling because it just proves that you don't trust your players or you don't trust the processes that you've given to your players. When we had 10 men, he went with a 5-4, and he never even had a striker. So that formation just remained when Henrik got Shaw got taken off. So if you look at it, you know, he wanted to revert to 5 to absorb pressure for a good part of 35 minutes. You know, eventually any team is going to crumble. And, you know, a team with Che Adams and Danny Ings, you know, if I'm a Southampton fan, I'm thinking, how the fuck did I lose that game? Or how did we not at least come away with a point?
No, they were poor. They were poor.
Yeah, and you know, I just revert back to, in terms of sort of coaching and how you try and get your players motivated. You know, you've got to coach in, and Scott will correct us, Huchenhals or whatever his name is, but he you know, I thought they would be on the front foot. You know, they would be moving the ball. The conditions were poor. The ball wasn't moving as nicely, but, you know, move the ball quickly. When you have the ball, run with the ball quickly. I saw Mino receive the ball in like a number 10 area, and he started walking with the ball because he just had no options, or he just had nowhere or he didn't know what to do with the ball. And I was just thinking, you know, this is quite simple. Move the ball into wide areas. You know, it's two banks of 4. Displace one of the wingers, displace one of the fullbacks, and that becomes a 3 or a 2 because you've got a covering midfielder or a covering defender, and it's going to become easier because you've got 11 players. Essentially, like, the maths should preside. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with 3 points. We'll take it. We'll regroup, and hopefully we can try and, I don't know, sneak a point or 2 in the next 2 games. I don't know how possible that will be. I think Callum Wilson is a big factor in that. If we can get him back, that will be a huge bonus.
Next game's Chelsea. Do you see them doing something against Chelsea?
Oh, you're saying me? Sorry, did you ask me?
I
thought he's asking you, Nick. No, man, I think it's obviously a confidence boost for them. With Callum Wilson potentially being out, that won't bode well, because I think you can take advantage of Chelsea's current defense with Christensen and Rudiger and Azpilicueta without Thiago Silva. You know, Thiago Silva is quite commanding in defense. Christensen has some lapses of concentration, and Rudiger has shown as well. So I think if Callum Wilson is fit for that game, then obviously they can take advantage. But if he's not, Joelinton, as a lone striker, hasn't really been great. But, you know, Almiron, Saint-Maximin, those guys can take advantage of the back 3 of Chelsea and play into the spaces out wide. I think that'll be the method.
I agree with you. I mean, I would even prefer to play with a Gale up front who's a willing runner in behind. You know,
yeah, true.
He can feed off scraps in behind rather than having someone who's supposed to be holding the ball up, but he can't hold the ball up. And he's proven that. You know, he came on, and the difference in quality is just, you know, Callum Wilson, you know, he might be the biggest fraud in football because he just wins so many fouls that probably aren't fouls, but he's just so clever and intelligent to put his body in the right areas. He holds the ball up when he can, and if he can't, he wins something for the team. And I count my blessings every day because we don't deserve to have a player of his quality. I promise you, believe me when I say that, he is far too good for Newcastle United, in my opinion, right now.
No, but in the current state.
Yeah, and listen, can I tell you what?
You're being too nice.
I'm going to speak about Jeff Hendrick. I know you spoke about his good pass, but he has, and you know, he started the season off great, and Richard will talk about this because he scored an absolute screamer in the first game against West Ham. And I thought, wow, we've taken a player off Burnley, you know, who are quite average. And you know what? He has not done anything since that game. And he got sent off. The way he got sent off was absolutely criminal. And he put his team under pressure tenfold. You know, he has a yellow card in the first half, and then he goes and makes a professional foul 3 minutes into the second half. Is he off his rocker? Like
Straight
I mean,
after,
Yeah.
but straight
That was
after,
poor.
Shelby has a great chance as well to put the game to bed at that time.
so
Straight
so,
after.
so this is the order of events. Shelby hit absolute sitter, absolutely,
Squanders it.
duster completely, and he should actually be fined for that. Straight from there, we go and concede a free kick where, in my opinion, I've been praising Darlow, but Darlow, yes, great free kick, but Darlow is a yard too far to the one side, especially for the distance where it is, because if he's 1 yard to the other side, trust your wall. If it's going to go over, you go and save it. And then immediately after that,
and also
you've got Hendrick doing that.
the
Come on,
second
3-1 up.
the second best free kick taker in Europe for the last 5 years.
He is. But you're also going to.
I'm saying what Darlow should have done is he can't be standing to what's his 1 foot or
100%.
to the left. He should know that this guy, his free kicks always do the same thing. Stand
Exactly.
stand a bit more right.
If he's lining up the ball against the wall like that, he can only go one way. The way he's running up the ball, he can only go one way. So stand a little bit. You're going to see it a little bit late, but you're still very close to the ball. So unfortunately, you got a Hendrick there. I'm so happy. We're blessed that he's not going to play the next game, and maybe we'll see a Willock, a Shelby, and maybe a little firecracker in Almiron, maybe playing as a number 10 in a free role. And I'd like Fraser to come back in, and you've got to say maximum running. So yeah, let's see. I don't know. I'm not holding any hope, but another 3 points closer to safety.
Another 3 points, Nick. And you know what? Fabio says, saying maximum is also too good for Newcastle at this moment in time. I don't know what your thoughts are regarding that one. But Rich is still on the line. So we're going to talk about the Fulham West Ham game, guys. I mean, I did tell you guys it was going to be a tricky sort of situation, a tight pitch. Fulham are comfortable at home.
Yeah.
There's denied space. And I think West Ham, with bringing Lingard and having the other players there, Benrahma, they've got pace to really hurt teams on a bigger pitch. And I think when you sort of deny that spacing behind, you got to be crafty in terms of how you get into the box. I think it was a tricky afternoon for West Ham. Wonga, Selo, Nick, what do you guys think?
I thought the red card, first and foremost, was hilarious. I know we're going to talk about that, but in my opinion, it was always going to be a tricky game, especially when I'm on another personal group with Rich. He said, happy top 4 day where they were going to win this game and get into the top 4. So I think he kind of jinxed himself there. And he sort of said it, I'd rather don't be too overconfident. And that just proves this league is exactly that. I was quite excited to see Fulham bring on Josh Mudger. I don't know if you guys have followed his career. I don't know if you watched that Sunderland Till I Die.
Haven't watched it. I think I've watched half of the first season.
Yeah. So he played in the second season, and he actually just finished. He just came from Bordeaux on loan, and he looks like quite a player. And I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him. But I mean, like we were saying before this game, it is a London derby. Scotty Parker playing against his old club. It was never going to be easy, and you got to, against a team with confidence, you got to try and make it as tough as possible. Keep it tight at the back, sort of keep it compact, drop when you need to drop, press when you need to press, and sort of not give them any time. And it seemed like a little bit of a frustrating day for a team that is, you can see they are a better side than Fulham. But Fulham just probably did enough to get the point. And what's unfortunate for Fulham in this perspective after this game is it's not actually enough. Yes, a good point against West Ham, but they actually needed all 3. So it's 2 points drop for West Ham, but at the same time 2 points drop for Fulham because they needed the 3 points.
But Fulham guys, Fulham have now, it's the second most draws in the league after Brighton. So they've drawn 9 games. Brighton have drawn 10. So they just lacking that quality in the final third. Selo, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to actually just allude to that fact. I think, prior to when they lost in their last game, they'd drawn so many games, and they've drawn against good teams as well. So they've got some quality, but just not enough quality to take them over the line in terms of actually getting a 1-0 win, a 2-1 win, It just seems like they'll just end up either drawing 0-0 or either drawing 1-1. Which is not going to help them at all, and they've got good players, I mean, Anguissa in the centre mid has been one of the best centre mids, in the Premier League. Obviously, he's playing for a lower team, but they've got quality. Lookman, I like how Lookman plays. So they've got some bit of quality, but just at the top end of the field, you know what I mean? Where Mitrovic hasn't been given a chance. Right now, obviously they got this new kid that used to play for Sunderland. Cool, he just got signed. Maybe he can help them out going into the next half of the season. But it doesn't look good for them. They'll probably get another 7 draws and 1 win, and then the rest will lose probably. That's how their season is going. Whereas they need another 5 wins instead of those 7 draws. So it will be tough for them. But hey man, Scotty Parker's a nice guy. I wish he could do well, and that Burnley could go down. Because Burnley doesn't really have nice players. They don't have nice players. They don't have players that I like to watch. You know what I mean? I like to watch Ademola Lookman. You know what I mean? I like to watch him.
But here's the thing, Silo. Here's the thing, they are 8 points. They are 8 points behind Burnley. Right, and Newcastle are only 2 points ahead of Burnley. So if Fulham do manage to do this, then Newcastle do get pulled into this. But I agree with you 100%. I'm hoping somehow Burnley just get out of here, even with their new takeover. Has that gone through? What's going on there? I don't know. Does anyone really know? Does anyone really care? To be honest,
not really.
No. Wonga, what did you want to say? What did you want to say about this game?
No, I mean, look, the two teams are West Ham. Look, they're doing well. Good season. I think, again, it's a result that they like Nick said, it's 2 points lost and for them, and it's also 2 points lost for Fulham. But West Ham on a good run. They're still in it, to go into the top 4. And I mean, for them, compared to where they finished last season, it's good. And of course, I'd prefer Arsenal to be there, but we've got our problems of our own. But for them, I think they're looking at it, and for me, it's nice to see that even though at this point they know they're probably going to finish higher than what they did last season, they're not just stopping there. They're trying to go full out. They're literally trying to break that record completely, and they're not sort of measuring themselves on what they did last year. They're sort of measuring themselves on the ability. Obviously now what they've been doing and what they're capable of. And in terms of Fulham, I think for them as well, they've done well from beginning of the season. The way they started against Arsenal, people said they're definitely writing them off, but their results here and there where they showed that they can actually they have the potential to pull out of it. And like Sel was saying, they have the players. But now the question is, can they get away from these draws? And I also don't know if I see them pulling that through.
Yeah, man.
Claudio,
I think
Claudio, you were asking about that takeover, man. So I just tried to check here. So it has gone through, but it's left the club £90 million worse off because they used Burnley's money with this acquisition somehow. I was trying to figure it out, but
I actually read something about that as well with a few of their signings or something. I don't know if they brought in anyone recently, but they used they're in a bit more debt than they actually were when they were taken over. So
yeah, they did a Glazers on them.
Yeah.
Yo. Oh, but they're American owners, I think, aren't they?
100%.
They're American buyers. Yeah. They want the ownership, but they'll get other people to pay for it. That's just how it is. But from a West Ham perspective, look, they dropped points. They dropped crucial points, you could say, for the top 4 finish. But so did Leicester, so did Man United, and so did Liverpool. I think the only real winners of the weekend were Chelsea. But that brings us on to our next game.
And Spurs. And Spurs.
Yeah, Spurs too. But they're sitting in 8th right now.
Yeah, but they got a game in hand on Chelsea and West Ham.
Yeah. Oh shit! One thing we didn't talk about, and Rich is right. The red card incident, Souček. And Mike Dean's death threats. Now he's not going to ref on the weekend, guys. Honestly, I don't think there's much to say about this. The decision was ridiculous. We all know it was ridiculous. Am I right? Is anyone going to argue that?
Yeah, but it's unfortunate. I think with the Premier League, there's been so many red card decisions where they've been very poor decisions, and what happens day after during the week is that those red cards get overturned. You know what I mean? So
all of them.
man, obviously because David Luiz, man, his reputation precedes him. But yeah, some of them do get overturned. Bednarek and now Suchek, obviously, and it's unfortunate that they get the red card. And in such a game, it does affect the game. Bednarek's one didn't really affect the game, but others do affect the game. The other team gets 3 points. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the Premier League can do to address that for all these poor red card decisions. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Mike Dean's gotten all these death threats. He doesn't deserve it at all. Yeah, he's had a howler the last 3 weeks with the Southampton games, but he doesn't deserve the abuse.
So
I found funny as well. Also,
Go for it.
so what I found funny, So what I found funny as well is in terms of death threats. Sky Sports. I also don't know why would they do something like that. But now Mike Dean, everyone comes, and I think even Sky Sports did. They said that look, the guy received death threats. Cool. And everyone's now aware that this guy's received death threats on social media, and he said this is what he's going to do. What. Then now Sky Sports puts. I think shortly after Sky Sports puts like a thing on Mike Dean in terms of his record,
How many mistakes he's made?
He's made how many mistakes he's made in the past or whatever thing. I don't know what the hell are these guys trying to do. They've just literally pouring fuel on a fire. You know what I mean?
But Sky Sports do that.
Lighting a match within gas.
They love doing that. Sky Sports
how can you
does such rubbish
get
all the
viewers?
time.
They get more viewers. They get more likes.
Yeah,
they
but
get
you
more
see,
clicks.
now things like that. They like, however they've decided. I know they've said they're going to manage it and put on fines, whatever. But you see, things like that, they need to be controlled, because we all know what Sky Sports is trying to do. But now, Mike Dean now in situation, now you're putting more fuel on this. I mean, more people are going to. We don't even know if more people are going to get crazy ideas.
Can I jump in there? The reason, can I tell you also why in Sky Sports defense, and I've seen this from a Newcastle perspective ourselves, and it's not necessarily based on, say, for example, refereeing incidences. It's about there's a conspiracy that Mike Ashley has a hold on the media, because there's obviously sort of sponsorship deals within Sky that Sports Direct contribute to. And there's a few sort of friends within the media that he has. And, Newcastle fans have a big grievance with Sky Sports because they don't actually speak about how bad of an owner he actually is. And they will say, well, why are you covering up? Why are you not speaking about all the flaws that he's spoken about? So what I'm trying to say here is you're going to get football fans in general calling an organization like Sky Sports out saying, well, why are you defending a referee that makes mistakes all the time? You need to call it out. I agree. Death threats are not right. But I'm going to actually allude to a point that Ian Wright spoke about the other day. Let's be honest, guys. It's all about fucking Mike Dean. It's always all about him. He loves the show. And, I don't want to actually say this in the wrong way, but this was coming. Not that death threats is right, but this was coming. A sort of outrage from the general public speaking about how actually shit he is, because it is a big show for him. This is a show for him. He loves to throw a red card and loves to argue with players and argue, and he loves to have like actual arguments with managers and coaches, because he's an absolute arsehole. He spoke to he spoke to who's that? It was Bilic last season. Bilic tried to speak to him from it was this season, but Bilic was there at the beginning of the season, and he tried to speak to Mike Dean. Mike Dean just ignored him, literally ignored him. Like Ian Wright said that day, just have a little bit of respect. He's a professional, you're a professional. At least speak to him. At least have that conversation.
And that's also one thing. But he would do great in the PSL, because that's how PSL refs are. Yeah, that's just how they are. Yeah. Like you can't. Like, well, why can't you have the conversation? You know, the decision can't be changed, but why can't you then still have the conversation and be like, look, help me understand why you gave that, and that way I can still disagree, but help me understand.
You can still have it in a calm way. You can still have it in a calm way. You know, if someone, I agree from a referee's perspective. If you come there screaming, shouting, swearing, telling them that their mother is X, Y, and Z, then I agree. Then you can ignore them. But you know, if you're asking why did you come and give my player a red card? Why did you make this decision in the first half? At least answer it, you know, or say, you know what, listen, let's get out of the camera view. Let's go speak in the change room. You know, they have that whole thing where they can knock on the door and they can go to the ref's change room and they can have a conversation. You know, don't put someone down by ignoring them or throwing red cards, or acting as if you're an absolute hero. You're not a hero. You never made it in football, and that's why you're a referee. In 9 times out of 10, that's the case.
You're so right, Nick. But also, like, if you're looking at the actual decision in this particular instance that he gives Suchet the red card, everybody can see. Coaches, players, even Mitrovic says not sending off. Fans can see. The player's literally trying to move his arm over the player's head. And he's seen this highlight or replay played how many times, and he still gives it. Like, for me, that's where there's a huge disconnect. And the guy, to your point, validates everything that you're saying. I mean, it boggles the mind sometimes. I don't know. It's a bit crazy, really. Settle. But no, thanks, Nick. I think that was insightful. Wonga as well. Sky Sports, you know how it is. They're no better than Fox News in terms of a political run. But settle. Man United 3, Everton 3. A game that technically should have been in the bag for United, especially when you're scoring the goals that you're scoring.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of questions need to be asked about our defense. And I think it's something I've raised on the show multiple times in terms of the amount of goals we're conceding is too many goals. You know what I mean? Obviously, previously we would concede first and then try catch up and then, claw back and get an equalizer and then get a winner. But in this instance, it's the exact opposite. 2-0 at halftime. Calvert-Lewin misses a chance at the end of the first half. You know, going to the break with a 2-0 lead. You know, now you just need to manage the game. You know. You look at a team like Man City, where when they score, you just don't believe that the other team is going to score. You know, it's the first time this weekend where actually maybe another team, managed to actually get a goal, but still, you know, I mean, they still managed to get the victory over the line and manage the game properly. So it's very poor for Man United. To allow Everton to get back into the game. Okay, cool. Show some character. Get a third goal, McTominay. And then at the end, the last few seconds, you can't see the game out. You know what I mean?
Tell me, Stella, what do you think? What do you think do you think the turning point was De Gea's mistake?
No, it's not. It's not the
turning point. So when I watched the highlights, I watched them again. I watched them twice and I replayed them. I think if you don't concede that goal, you're going to win the game easily. Because that was the swing. That gives them the hope. No,
okay, definitely, yeah. That gives them hope. I think, you can point to obviously that era where you should have obviously handled it better. But as well, in the last minute, Harry Maguire plays them onside and still puts up his arm. And he's calling offside, but he's playing players offside. Do you know what I mean? How do you do that as a defender, guys? How do you do that? If you are the last person, how do you see stuff happening in front of you and still put up your hand and you're playing people onside? You know what I mean? Man, like that is the worst. But I do agree that obviously, yes, it did. I guess it did give Everton. That energy to actually go for another goal once De Gea made the mistake. But yeah, we still should see out the game. Shouldn't be conceding another goal thereafter. Giving them a 2-2. Should have dealt with that situation better, where James got his goal, and then obviously the third goal. That's just man. I'm really disappointed. And Maguire, man, so many times you ask yourself, what is he doing? You know what I mean? What is he thinking in that situation? What is he doing? You know what I mean? And that's not the way your leader of the team and the leader of the defense is supposed to be defending. You're supposed to say, oh, okay, no, this guy, he at least tried to do something and then it hit it hit his body or something like that. You know what I mean? You can, something like that where you can actually see someone trying, but it's just unfortunate circumstances where maybe the other team gets a goal. But in an instance where, as a defender, you say, okay, cool, guys, let's hold the line. Let's all be on this line, but then you behind everyone else, far behind everyone else. And then also, you're not even attacking the ball. You know what I mean? You at the back somewhere there, chilling there at the back, and playing everyone onside. So, yeah, man, it's disappointing. But, we've been saying that our defensive partnership of Lindelof and Maguire hasn't been great this season, has let in too many goals. And yeah, it needs to be obviously
resolved. If you look at the amount of goals you score in, I think Claudio said it now. If you can sort out that back line, where could you actually be? You could
definitely
actually be a lot higher up in the league, finishing teams off as you should.
I mean, they've scored the most goals. They've scored 49 goals in the Premier League. That's the most goals scored by any team. So, and it's exactly that question, which is why, Cyril, my next question to you, and obviously it's a bad time for me to be asking the question, but in terms of De Gea now, I know there's a huge problem between your two centre-halves. Your two centre-halves is a huge problem. Lindelof reminds me of a player Lindelof tries to vindicate that he's a leader. I think that's the issue here. And I think him and Harry Maguire don't gel for that fact. Or Maguire, sorry. They're
too similar.
Yep. They're too similar because they kind of like, and we saw when Bruno Fernandes called Lindelof out on his shit in the Europa and he had to go at him, he kind of thinks he's got this influence in the team, but he really doesn't. But in between those, I think the real question now for De Gea, I mean, if we got to look at this with an objective sort of magnifying glass, De Gea is not the same player he was a couple of years ago. Now we could argue it could be the centre half pairing, but the question is I want to ask is De Gea, though, is he the right man to be ending or moving on for a title challenging?
Can you name another game where he made an error this season? And then I'll answer your question.
He has made a couple of seasons.
He made an error. Please tell me which error.
I'm not going to go with errors now. I'm identifying that sort of scenario. He reminds me in terms of if I'm looking at a sort of what's his name, the Hugo Lloris. In terms of that's the sort of standard. He's still above Hugo Lloris. But that's the sort of standard that he's kind of slipping in my opinion.
Okay.
He's prone to, like, in those sort of scenarios. That's what you want. What
about the error that Henderson made against Sheffield, where he kicked the ball into the player?
But am I saying? I didn't say Henderson was the right man to replace him. My question is to you. I don't think you're being very much disrespectful to David De Gea. No, I'm not being disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. Very disrespectful.
Listen to my question. I can
accept Anthony Martial's slander. I can accept you talking about Martial and saying
I'm not making slander yet, bro. I don't know what's wrong with you.
But I cannot accept David De Gea's slander.
My question is for you is: do you think if De Gea stays in this team? Do you think if he stays in this team currently, De Gea still deserves to be number one goalkeeper for Man United. He's only made that error this season. So next season, full conviction.
David De Gea deserves to be number one for Man United next season. Deserves to be in goal for the remainder of this season and for next season. He hasn't made any other error.
That's all I'm asking.
He hasn't made any other error. Whereas Alisson has made. Wow.
Alisson has made 3 errors, and 2 of them were in one game.
What?
So the fact
what about against Arsenal last season?
What about Arsenal last season?
Oh, yeah, when Lacazette. No, that was just good closing down.
But it's all good. But Alisson has made more.
Comparing the best.
Alisson, what do you mean the best? Who's not the best?
Alisson played. He was ill. He was ill on Sunday, and he still played. Oblak. So my question is for you. So if you say Oblak is
Ter Stegen and Neuer are also better than him.
Neuer is not better than Alisson, bro. You're smoking your socks. How can you say that? Neuer is better than Alisson.
Yes, he is.
No
Nick, what's your opinion?
Wait, Nick. Before you give your opinion, my question is to him. No, you can ask him. My question is to you. If you're saying Oblak is the best keeper, and United have the influence, Why don't? So would you not take an All Black over De Gea
No,
right
I
now?
won't, because he's going to cost. I won't take him because he's going to cost 150 million pounds. I don't want to
Man
do
United
that.
can afford it though. Man United
No,
can
we
afford
can't.
it.
We
You
can't
can
afford it. We can't afford
Financial.
it,
Go look
Claudio.
at any financials they can afford it.
Claudio,
Of course they can afford it.
Claudio, we cannot afford it, bruh. We cannot.
Wonga, what
we
do you think?
We couldn't even buy Jadon Sancho. Claudio, Man United
Bro,
can't afford it. Man
They
United
can
owners,
afford it. They're not
Man
doing
United-
it because they don't want to be taken for a ride. That's what they're doing. They're changing their approach, man.
can't
Sorry,
afford
Nick,
it.
you give your opinion there,
Can't
goalkeeper.
afford it.
I think
Neuer is
Can't
I
afford it, man.
personally
That's a
think
cop-out. That's a cop-out.
guys, you're missing out on Carl Dollar. He's obviously the best in the world. Come on. let's I know you'll take him, Claudio, you'll take him, Celo. Let's just settle that now. There we go.
No, I'll take him, but I'll take him as long as he doesn't face James Ward-Prowse's free kicks. But I'll take him.
I think just to add to what Claudio's saying, I think you're right, Celo, in the sense that De Gea has, there hasn't been that many mistakes this year. It's probably been one, like you said, but I think we are. If you look back to last season, there were a few, and I think that was when Man United were sort of in a very in between phase where they didn't know where they wanted to be, and I think De Gea isn't. Let's maybe say he wasn't that. He had that second season, that third season where he was unbelievable, and I honestly thought he was the best in the world. I think there are a lot of keepers, and I still have stood by De Gea. I think he is better than Henderson. And I think it's a valid argument. A club the size of Man United, you need a keeper that isn't going to make those mistakes. If you look at a team like Liverpool right now, you need a keeper that's not going to make those mistakes. That's why now the questions are there for Alisson. Possibly not fair because he's done as much as he's done, and I think the argument is valid for Man United. De Gea has done a lot for Man United. So
4 seasons in a row,
two great goalkeepers in my opinion.
This player in Man United for 4 seasons in a row.
They would be on my bench, both of them, at Newcastle United.
And for Darlow to start, I would agree. I'd also agree. Darlow's the best. But yeah, no, Claudio.
I would agree. Put Darlow in Old Trafford. Keep him there. I wouldn't take him at Anfield.
I think the thing is right is that the whole debate came about after last season, and a lot of Man United fans wanted De Gea to be dropped and said because Henderson was coming back, but once the season started and games went on and so forth, and he played well, Man United fans were saying, Dave is back. He's back to his best. He's back to his best. That's what the Man United fans were saying. Because why? Because he went back to his best, right? And now just because he made one mistake, now we're gonna just disregard all the other good work that he's done this season and that he's helped us with. He can't be the center back and the goalkeeper. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just happens that the defenders in front of you are just so poor. Are just really so poor as a partnership that they're not obviously protecting you, as a whole. And that's the thing is that if you remember the goal against Leicester scored in the 85th minute. Does Jamie Vardy gets space in the box, you know what I mean, and it gets deflected and it gets into a goal. Goalkeeper can't do anything about that, you know what I mean. What is a goalkeeper supposed to do in a deflected shot? You know what I mean? Against Arsenal, he saves Aubameyang's penalty and has to be retaken. Oh no, not the Aubameyang one. In another game, he saved the penalty, then it has to be retaken. You know what I mean? Because his foot was apparently off the line. You know what I mean? So he's doing good things in games. You know what I mean? This is unfortunate that certain situations are deflections and so forth. You know what I mean? Against Sheffield again, deflection against Twanzebe. You know what I mean? And then Sheffield, and then the referees say that there should have been a foul on him in the lead up to the first Sheffield goal. You know what I mean? So he's been unfairly, seen, and that's the problem as well. Is that too much focus is put on foreign players. Why are we not talking about Maguire? Why are we focusing on De Gea? You know what I mean?
The only reason we're not focusing on Maguire is because we all agree he was shit. We all agree he's shit. Yeah, so you go. What did you say?
I want to ask that's what I want to ask Celo now. Okay, but firstly, I think All Blacks number one, definitely. But moving on from that, in terms of Man United now, I think Celo agrees. The problem there is the two centre backs, and it's probably. Now, the question I want to ask you something that it was also posed to me at the end of the day, in terms of Aston as well, with starting their youngsters as well. Now, Maguire the whole season, Oaks, the whole season. It's been on and off. I think he's probably been, if not the probably most inconsistent player at Man United. Very most inconsistent, and he's your captain. My question is now, do you see, do you see Solskjaer now dropping the guy and putting someone else there? Because if Man United, but now do you see now Man United now definitely are competing for the title. Let me say, in future they're competing for titles. They want to win a title. Do you see your team winning it with Maguire there? Because I don't. With Maguire and the Lindelof. I don't see it.
The thing is with football, it's a funny old game. You know what I mean? I think there was a season once where Man United had the second best defense, and Smalling was still there and so forth. I think it might have been under Mourinho or Van Gaal, you know, and it's not that we had the best defenders, you know. It's just that they played very well, and obviously De Gea was phenomenal in that season. But then now, and then you look at also last season, for instance, right? Our defense, you know, conceded a certain amount of goals, but also we conceded less goals per game than this season. But it's a similar team. You know, it's the same back four basically. You know what I mean? But then now we're conceding more goals per game. You know, now you have to ask yourself, why is that the case? Also, our wingers tracking back. You know what I mean? So you need to look at the whole dynamic of the team.
Yeah,
is it working?
So I agree with you. I agree with you there. You got to look at the whole dynamic, but at the same time, there's also truth in terms of what Akil's saying here with regards to defenders and goalkeepers have to complement each other. That's first and foremost. And they get confidence from both, right? They get confidence from both. And what I'm saying is, in terms of Saturday's performance, sure, we're highlighting this specific instance, right? Mm-hmm. On more than one occasion, there was a mix-up between the two, Lindelof as well as Maguire. That was awful. Yeah. Okay, and that is for United to be competing. That's where the solve needs to come. Whatever money you're going to be throwing at, it needs to be another centre half to be coming. Whether it's Makano from Red Bull, whoever it is, that's where you need to focus on. Now, the other question is, in a scenario when I'm comparing a De Gea now to the scenario that Hugo Lloris had with Liverpool, you know, Spurs are in the game at that moment in time, right? Mm. Hugo Lloris doesn't commit to the ball. He doesn't commit. Some keepers are brazen. They're a lot more brave. Other ones are meeker. Others are, you know, they play to their strengths. De Gea is brilliant at his reactions and his shot stopping. But where you need someone to command that area, sort of, and again, to Akil's point, where they need to complement each other. When you've already got two centre halves that are so fragile as it is, having someone there that can be loud, that can come out, collect. And I think that's all I'm saying when it comes to that scenario. Now, that is based on that scenario and maybe moving forward. And that's why my question comes to you. If you believe it's the right guy, then it's the case of possibly bringing in a top centre half, a world-class centre half, or not even a world-class centre half to what you're saying. It doesn't have to be. But the chemistry between those two right now is very shit. And if you throw the goalkeeper in between, they're not feeding off each other. And that's the issue with United. I mean, 49 goals in the league season right now. There's nothing wrong with them going forward. Nothing wrong with them going forward. And that's the bottom line, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it would be lazy just to look at De Gea and say he's the problem, whereas he's not the problem. It's the defense as a whole, and then also the team as a whole, and just need to sort out the team and say, okay, cool. This is why we're conceding too many goals like this. You know, maybe it's a mix-up, maybe it's positioning. You know, maybe they need to identify which type of goals that you're always conceding, and then need to see how is it when we're playing. You know, I think when we had Eric Bailly, we had a bit more solidity in our defense compared to when Lindelof plays, and it's just unfortunate that obviously Eric Bailly wasn't available for the weekend and isn't available for tonight. So obviously then that means that we just need to get a defender that can stay fit. You know what I mean? Eric Bailly and Matip need to compare notes of how long they spend in the injury room, because Matip and Bailly are always in the sick bed.
I like how Matip gets brought into this. One last thing I want to ask, guys, is that before we move on from this game, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming out saying United are not in the title race. Now, a couple of weeks ago, but here's the thing, though. This is the question I have from a coaching perspective, and you being a fan, me being a fan. If I see my manager, regardless if I know they're punching above their weight, from a leadership perspective, I never want to hear my manager outright coming and saying that, because somewhat it does filter down. You might have one or two players that are leaders, but now that you outright saying, you're the main man saying they're not in the title race, naturally people are going to stop taking their foot off the gas. And for me, I don't know if that's a manager. Obviously, we all know he's still learning his trade. But at this moment in time, why not back himself in the conviction despite the problems that he has? You know what I mean? He's gone on a good run here. Why not keep it going? Why, as soon as something falters, you all of a sudden start changing the tune a little bit? It looks a bit wobbly. I don't know. I'm asking the coach there. I want to get Nick, because you're the coach. You're going to have to be dealing with these sort of scenarios. What do you do in that scenario? Are you happy with that? I know I'm not.
As long as Nick doesn't mention Bruce, we can listen to what he says.
No, but I think in my opinion now, we can't bring Bruce into any conversation that talks about half decent managers. But no, just in terms of, he probably listened to that interview afterwards and probably kicked himself, because you're right, Claudio. I mean, if you are sort of a senior player, say you're a Paul Pogba in that change room, you'll be like, well, who's leading us? I want to win a title. Why would he say something like that? And in his defense, maybe he sort of said it to protect his players, if that makes sense, to sort of protect his players from the fact that maybe they won't win the league, and then they protected from all the hype of them challenging for something that was never actually on the cards. I don't buy it. I do think they were involved in the conversation. I still think they are, to a degree, involved in the conversation. But I think now that the pressure is maybe becoming a little bit more, it is easier. Naturally, it is easier to say that I'm not in it. And then, if you're still quietly going by your business and behind the scenes, it's easier to get back involved in the picture whereas like a Mourinho for a couple of weeks, they were dubbed, title contenders, and even by me. And I think it's easier to retract and then maybe go back in rather than staying in and you flogging a dead horse. But I do agree with you in that sense. You're trying to gain, the confidence of your players. You want to sort of say, yeah, we're going to fight. I would have worded it differently. I would have said, what? No one would have said that we would have been in this position come 6 months ago. We're here right now. We're going to fight for every point possible, and hopefully we do win the title. That's
Coach Nick. Hey, Coach.
Yeah.
Nick needs to submit his CV there, or help Solskjaer with his wording of his press conferences. But I agree with what you're saying, man. I think you need to just you can say the same thing but in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
What's his name? So Robert, isn't it Robertson? Not sure. I think it was the last game you guys Liverpool played. Robertson even said that Liverpool are not in the title race based on what's happening. But you see, that's also, now I'm saying that's also different the way he's saying it. He's saying it that they don't deserve to be in the title race, to be seen in the title race because of the way they are playing. That's the way he's saying it. You know what I mean? So for him, they want to be in the title race. You get what I'm saying? It's not that the pressure's off them. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I think Jason speaks about that. Oh, sorry. Carry on, Wonga.
Yeah, so I'm saying that Robinson he's the way he's saying it is like is that the title race for them is a place where Liverpool wants to be at. It's not whether it's a place of pressure, that's where everyone's fighting for. So when asked the question, he told them, look, we are not in the title race. Not to say that he's taking pressure off himself, but almost in a way, you would say he's also disappointed that he cannot say that he is in the title race. And from all his points of view, the way I never heard him say it, but the way Claudio is saying it's almost sort of the way I hear it is almost he's trying to take pressure of players, and it'd rather be seen in that position that these guys are not gunning, they're not gunning for it. But the way I see it from Liverpool's point of view is that look, these guys want to be there, and they're actually disappointed that they are not in that race. And come next game, they'll fight so that they are in the title race.
I think that tactic can go twofold. I mean, you can either go and you can say, listen, I back my players, so I'm going to go out in the press and say, listen, we are here to fight. We are here to win the title. We are going to go tooth and nail to go do that. And hopefully that sparks a reaction from your players. Or if you do it the other way around, exactly like you're saying now, and you sort of retract a little bit, but then you've got to have the conversation, a separate conversation with your players and explain yourself.
Yeah.
Because they're going to watch Sky Sports News themselves. You know, you also
No,
don't
you're
want to be
right.
the arsehole in the change room at training, and they look at you and they second guessing you because are we on this train together or are we on a different train? Because you know, if you're playing for Man United, you want to go and win titles. Like mentally, that's
Well,
what
that's
I
the
would
expectation, right? That's the expectation. Like it should be that shouldn't be a conversation. You know, it should be we are here to compete regardless of what the scenario is. You know, and in this scenario, I know like you got your Gary Nevilles and all these guys saying, you know, they're ahead of the curve. They're ahead of the curve. Yeah, sure, they're ahead of the curve, but flipping use that curve. You know, man. I think that's one of the things. You know,
Yo,
you know what I
guys,
mean? Like
we've
use the
spoken
momentum.
we've spoken about Man United for a long time, guys. I think someone's trying to delay a topic.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a great day in the office for Liverpool. It wasn't a good one, but we can say it was a very, 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 very good day for a Man City and a Pep Guardiola getting his first win at Anfield. First win in Anfield.
Yeah.
First win for Man City at Anfield in a couple of, I think it's 18 years. So, and also I know, Nick, you're not going to want to hear this because you say it's a load of shit every time I mention it. But it just shows you the sort of role the fans play at Anfield and the role they play for the players. To be honest, I mean that's the reality. That's the reality. Normally Liverpool would come out first 10 minutes, guns blazing. They didn't do that. Man City were on top of the game from the onset. They were there. Wonga is drinking some water because that's a lot of water. I think he's lining up a long speech for this one. Am I right there, Wonga?
No. I don't have much to
he's
say
just
about
taking a
this one.
break. It's just his halftime break. Yeah, no. So, yeah, for me, geez, where do I begin? There's a lot of things. Must I just talk? Are you guys going to throw some things at me? Because
I
think as Pumlani Msibi always says to the coaches after the game, your thoughts.
No, dude, honestly, where do I begin? I think he gets it wrong again. I said from the beginning, if Liverpool are going to get something from the game, Henderson has to be in the centre mid.
In the midfield.
He wasn't. He went for try to test it. He tried to protect the new boys in terms of not throwing them in the deep end. Fair enough. Obviously, if they come in and if it doesn't work out, if you throw in Ozan Kabak at 20 years old and it just doesn't work out for him, there goes the possible investment in this 20-year-old. So I get that. But at the same time, you've also got to understand you're asking Thiago to do something he's not used to doing. His whole career, he's played a position. You've now thrown him in the mix going, this is how I play. You're very good and adaptable player. You're a smart player, talented, but I need you to do this job. Again, you're taking a pretty, like a square peg and you're putting it in a round hole sort of thing. And unfortunately, it shows. You can see it. And Man City, man, complete conviction. And I think also Pep, from the offset, he changed his tactics at second half because he could. He was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to keep them there. And, to be fair, Liverpool weren't great, but we were still in the game. We were in the game. We had two of the best chances in the first half. And then the penalty comes and then the Alisson sort of blunders. And then the conversation about Alisson being sick midweek. Do they rush him back in? It's one of those things. And once he's made that first mistake, his head's completely gone. But again, that mistake, credit to Pep going 4-4-2. And that put us under pressure in terms of we didn't change. They overcrowded that midfield. And also Cancelo, huge player for this team, and Gundogan getting goals. Huge. Him moving into that space into the midfield. Let's Gundogan play number 10, number 8 role, making those runs in behind. And that's where they're really, really benefiting right now from not even having a striker. So, yeah, they smelt blood and they went there and they got it. And in the end, I think 4-1 completely demoralizing for us. And I think if anything, it's actually good that it's dead in the sand for us. That all that pressure's gone. I think the players can now start readjusting. They're not playing as champions trying to retain something, but as, again, that Klopp mentality as underdogs now, or not underdogs, just freaking guys that need to go out there and put something together, stitch something together. It's almost like a nice cotton jersey with a piece of thread. I mean, think about it. We got our Christmas jerseys beginning of this new year. We're top of the log, and there was a little bit of thread, and all of a sudden that thread started coming loose, and all of a sudden the jersey's unraveled in a month. So that's kind of the way in which I can explain it. Sorry, Selo.
No, I was gonna say, when I'm thinking now as Klopp as a manager, right? I just need to make sure that I say the right things. I don't blunder with my assertion about his past at Dortmund. So at Dortmund, he obviously, he won the Bundesliga for 2 consecutive seasons, right? But then what happened thereafter? I think similarly to now with Liverpool, he's almost a manager who drives his team to the ground for like a certain amount of time. Then obviously it's like the batteries run out. Okay, cool. At Dortmund, you can say that the best players left, at every juncture. With the Liverpool team this season, it's not that they left; it's that they got injured. But do you think that because he drives his teams to the ground for that high intensity, the Champions League victory, being 2 points behind City and losing the league and then winning it, and then like it's almost like the energy's it's gone, and he needs to revitalize the squad by bringing in a bit more bodies into the squad, not just 2 bodies, but like let's say like like a 4 bodies type of situation where you sign 4 players this season, the next season you sign another 2 players, then it's like six players in totality that are actually trying to rejuvenate the squad in that way, because if you look at, for instance, a Bobby Firmino, would have been great if he had another person that he could put in as a center forward to replace him, and obviously
look, Silo, I think there's a lot of there's truth in this. I think the last couple of seasons, yeah, sure, high intensity. I don't think he rotated much of his squad. If you're looking at it, we've got a good first 11, right? And I think it's all caught up now as well. But to Jason's point, with our 3 centre backs, that's a huge. Your 3 main centre backs. I know everyone's got injuries, but all these guys are not. They're not off for 2-6 weeks at different times. They're all out at the same time. You're talking about another option up front. We brought in Jota. Jota got injured, and he was making the difference for us. He was picking us the energy. Then the other frustration is that maybe in another season when there isn't a pandemic, straight after the league success, the Fenway Group go, flip, here's a lot of money, go get who you need. Go get the 3 players you need. But in this case, now they've had to change things. They've moved the goalposts a little bit. I mean, you could say even during January, there's a sense of frustration from Klopp going, his hands are a bit tied in terms of the players that he would want to get. So they've now done what they've done. So you could argue that. You could argue all these things. But right now, again, it's just there's a lot of these different variables. I think the big question for Klopp is, and I like that you mentioned the sort of Dortmund scenario, because in that scenario he was losing his best players. They were fatigued, but he was also then losing his best players every season to the rivals, and they weren't replacing them. In this scenario, it should be somewhat different because he's at Liverpool, and Liverpool want to kind of stay where they're at. So they need to throw money at this. Come into the season. So I think they're lining up for the end of the season. I think let bygones be bygones. We all know City had a break last season. Let us have our break now. Let's see what we can get from the Champions League. If we have to make the top 4 because of the money that comes with it. That's crucial. And I think, again, now they're just going a bit of a run. And I think it's cool that they've done this. I mean, it's not a great feeling by any means, but it just kind of puts everyone
humbles you. It humbles you. Yeah. I'm not saying that you needed humbling, but I think essentially, like, as Matt always says, the league isn't sober at the moment. I think it's becoming more sober in the sense for City. They sort of gaining form where they've been a bit more consistent, but it's all over the place. You've got West Ham fighting for a top 4, which is great for Rich, by the way, Rich, if you're watching. You got a Liverpool who, it's not just going to be a walk in the park to get in the top 4. You will finish in the top 4, but you still got to fight for it. You got to go get those points. And this season's proven that 3 points aren't a given. You don't deserve to get You don't deserve to get 3 points next weekend against Leicester or against
Brighton
or whoever it is. You don't deserve it, and I think that goes for anyone fighting for a top 4 position. So, I mean, I questioned it. I questioned, is there a stimulus still? I questioned, yes, I understand the physical point of view. You guys, your team is pushed to the limits, and that's why he's got the best out of your players. But I questioned, is there stimulus? Is there stimulus to be pushed that much? Are the players buying into that? Listen, we won't know that. I think Klopp I would love to see how he works behind the scenes. I'd love to see how the players, how receptive they are to him. How receptive they are to him season 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is it different? Those are the sorts of questions you got to ask. Are there any trends? And I think the trends were very much towards building towards something. I think Celo's right. It has kind of dropped off, but you got to look at the fact that you are playing in a season or in a 2-year period where there's a pandemic. You're playing
No
behind
break.
closed doors, no
Games
break.
are caught up.
You've got a Euros around the corner where players are also thinking about, and you've got half of your squad has been injured this season. So, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. But ultimately, in 10 years' time, Claudio, if you lose the league, Man City fans aren't going to speak about the fact that you had 3 injuries. They're going to talk about potentially them of winning the title. And
people don't even talk about us getting to the Champions League the first time where we lost 3-1 because of Karius' mistake. It was about Madrid winning. So, 100%.
So football moves on very quickly, and I think the league doesn't lie. At the end of the day, the league doesn't lie. If you're in the bottom 3, you're the worst 3 teams. If you finish top, you're the best team. If you finish second behind City on goal difference or by 1 point, that just shows you are probably just as good, but 1 goal less, and that is just unfortunate. It is unfortunate.
But this is the one thing, and I want to get your perspectives on this, is that now that this has happened, all right, you almost, it's an unfortunate situation. It's a lot of, again, factors contributing to one sort of thing. It's happened. It is happening. I wonder now, because people are talking about Firmino. Obviously, we know he hasn't been the same player for a while now. Since towards the end of last season, really. He hasn't been the same sort of player. So now we've got our Jota coming in. If he's fit, then it's great. We've also got the conundrum of Keita, for example, in the midfield. The boy's always picking up injuries. And now suddenly they're even resting him up until he's 100% fit. Because at this moment in time, if we got to offload him, we're not going to make the money we spent on him, which is a bad business investment.
You need him to be fit, firing.
Exactly. So we need him to come back. So the question is now and again, Thiago as well. Thiago's an issue now, because let's think about this. When our players are fit and right, you've got Fabinho back in the midfield. You've got Henderson back in the midfield. Obviously, we've got Gini leaving, so possibly you could say he fits there. But is this system, and I know it's very early to tell, and it's very forced, and they haven't had much time on the training ground, and we know Klopp preaches training ground. But is he going to fit into this sort of system as well? That's another question. So what happens in January, in come end of the season? Do they start looking at other players now? Does it accelerate 1 or 2 things that they weren't going to do previously? So, yeah, what happens, guys? What happens in your opinion?
I think personally, I don't think it's going to get any better for the next year or 2. I think the schedules are going to be jam-packed, I think, for at least another 12 to 18 months. I think they're going to come off a period now where they're going to go straight into a Euros. And I don't think they're going to delay the season by much. So I think he's going to have a period with his players which is shortened. Is he going to get the players that he wants? I don't know if Fenway and the owners are going to want to spend. And he's got to determine what squad is going to be able to be capable of challenging potentially a City who may be defending their title.
You just drop another £50 million when they want.
Yeah, exactly.
They got money,
and unfortunately, if you're spending at this current point in the league, you're standing still. You need to spend a lot to move forward. And I think I'd spoken about that recently. One of the pundits had said it's true. If you spend in 20 million or 30 million, you're standing still. If you need to be spending, in the upper echelons of the budgets that are around. And I don't know. I think personally, there might need to be a clean out of your deadwood, and you'll know who your deadwood is. Players that aren't adding value. We were speaking about Ox. You spoke about Ox. Is that someone who's going to carry you forward? Guys that have injuries. Guys that are a Matip that's possibly always injured. A Keita. Some of these players, yes, they're quality on their day, but can you maybe replace them with players that are consistently fit,
reliable,
consistently giving you an 8 out of 10 every game?
You got Shaqiri, you got Origi. There's a long list of. Unfortunately, everyone who's playing second string to the first 11. Yeah. Their chances of staying within the squad, I think, now becomes put in the spotlight because they are getting chances.
You got to find, can you that second 11 that you have or the second 8 that you have on the bench, can you find better players to replace them? Because right now your depth has proven that it's not good enough in comparison to the rest.
It's not good enough also for the way in which Klopp wants to play.
Sure.
I think the thing with Liverpool is that it's got, let's say, 15 players. That's what it's got. It's got 15 players. When they're offered, this is the 15 players that I'll use, and this is the 15 players that won me the league, essentially. But then so many injuries where what happens to the other players? You need to now bring in the other players to be that those players you can know. Okay, off the bench, I'm gonna add substitutions. Cool. Thiago and Jota came in. Thiago, obviously, the injury at the beginning of the season, COVID didn't help. Jota played well, injury now as well. So I think, obviously, yes, those factors do play a part in terms of the injuries, and it's been unfortunate. But yeah, as we're saying, the deadwood needs to improve. The bench options need to improve. You look at Man City's bench, guys. Man, Riyad Mahrez is there, he's available. Ferran Torres is there, he's available. Even if Fernandinho. He's old, but he can do some serious work. Nathan Ake is available. Laporte is available. All these players that they have, available on the bench are international starters for some of the best nations in the world. And Liverpool's bench players, Divock Origi can't even get into a Belgium squad. I don't think that's the type of player you need to have on the bench. You need to have someone at least who can at least contribute, 10 goals in the season as a second option, second striker. Or you need to get someone who's going to compete consistently with Firmino, and then Firmino might be the bench player and an impact player, because Firmino still does have good qualities. It's just, obviously, it's unfortunate that it's highlighted more this season because the rest of the team is not doing well. So it's kind of, you've put a focus on him, whereas last season he didn't score as many, but he still contributed in other facets. So now this season, he's probably still going to do similar numbers to last season, but now it's highlighted more because the rest of the team's not firing.
Yeah. And I wonder, and I know I've mentioned the fans, but I wonder, like, from the fact that they've won the league after this 30-0, all this sort of emphasis build up on it, and now, you've stripped away that sort of opportunity to even celebrate with them afterwards. They've obviously thought something was going to happen post the season, and it hasn't come there. They haven't been able to celebrate it like they would. You got Gini Van Halden, who's probably going to leave end of the season, and he hasn't had that. He's won the league, and he hasn't had the opportunity to celebrate it with the fans. And also another player who gets the raw end of the stick, in my opinion. He was one of our better midfielders on the weekend, yet everyone is having a go at him instead of talking about Thiago. And for me, that blows my mind. But anyway, whole bunch of issues there. I think, and the next game, it doesn't get better. The next game's Leicester City. But on that note, guys, final thoughts before we end this.
Good luck to Man United against West Ham tonight.
Guys, how did Tottenham get Harry Kane back so quickly?
COVID vaccine.
Shut up, guys. Like,
They injected it into him.
and he always has ankle injuries, but the guy's back after missing just 2 games. I couldn't believe it. When he's starting, I'm like, and then I also see Vardy's back. These guys just they just snapped the fingers, and these guys just.
But
missed
ankles,
2-3 games.
but ankles, you can. When I used to play, geez, dude, I used to roll my ankle every other time. I just strap it, and I always found it funny. I always found it funny where like guys were like, "Oh, my ankle's whatever," and they'd be out for X. And I'd have like a tennis ball for an ankle, but I'll just strap it up and play because you get used to it. And I think that's one of the fortunate things about it being an ankle. So if you're a player like Harry Kane and you want to, and you need to, not want to, you need to qualify for Champions League, I think enduring a little bit of pain and earning the amount you're earning is the least you could do for your football club. So that's an ankle. Look, I don't know how serious it was, but that's how my opinion of ankles. It's not, but at the same time, you can get through it. You can get through it.
No, true. You can definitely. It's just I was just like very shocked that he was back. I think sometimes you just say, he's just got an ankle sprain, he'll miss the next game, and you'll be back for the.
Yeah.
I thought if they said that, that's cool, but they made it seem like this guy's out. He still needs to get fixed and everything, and he still needs to heal and do some rehab. So he'll be out for 6 weeks. That's what I thought. Boom, this guy's out for 2 games only. Yeah. So it was quite surprising, but it'll be good for Spurs. And the race for top 4 is going to be hot this season, guys. Man United, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Everton.
You even got technically Aston Villa with 2 games in hand on 35 points. Yeah. Technically speaking,
those 6 teams, you need to get 3 out of them, and it's difficult.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Also, going back to the Harry Kane sort of injury, there's no ways. Mourinho went and he was like, "Listen, whatever medical staff, you make sure." I've spoken to this player and I've convinced him he's going to play. You do whatever it takes to get him on that field because there's no ways you can afford to drop
100%.
3 losses in a row and then they win. 100%. Like imagine Mourinho losing 4 losses. There was no ways that was going to happen.
And Yeah, this midweek game for the FA Cup, bench him. Don't even play him. Don't even touch
Yeah.
him. Man City coming up on the weekend, and then he'll be fit again, and then maybe the Man City can finally lose.
Yeah, let's hope so. Right, gents. And that pretty much concludes the show for today. Thank you for tuning in, everyone who did stick with us and stay till the end. Jason, you're helping our community grow, man. Like the thing at the bottom says here. Subscribe. Jason's here to keep you company. And I don't know why you don't have more friends, really, Jason. Just speak to people.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone who tuned in.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Jen. Check you.